Hi everyone. I've done a video about this before, but it bears repeating that when you go through a tough time, right? When you go through some life-altering situation, something that really challenges you. This could be a severe sickness, this could be some kind of event that completely uproots you, discombobulates you, right? When you go through a really difficult time, that's when you can make your biggest progress in your transformation, in your awakening. Because that's when you start looking outside this frame. If everything is going your way, you're probably not going to look for a solution outside your own frame of reference. uh, But when you're going through a really tough time, that's when you're going to look for something else. You're going to ask for help. You're going to apply the mind training of A Course in Miracles if you're familiar with that, because that's when you're really starting to go like, I need help. I don't know how to deal with this. This is really, really tough for me, and I'm going to need a healing. I'm going to need, right? Because the miracle is always available. You're going to, but basically you're asking for the miracle, right? You're going to ask for that correction in thinking, that shift in thought that is being brought about by the miracle. It will result in what? It result in a healing, right? Of your sickness. It will result in um, that problem that you saw a moment ago. It no longer suddenly is a problem, and that shift, that correction happens despite of you, right? In other words, whatever was a problem before, you can no longer find it. The sickness that you had a moment ago is gone, right? You'll learn to ask for help by applying. You need to apply the mind training, obviously, because that makes the miracle available. Because it's always available, but you need to allow for sufficient openness in your thinking to let that miracle occur. Uh, and seriously, your part is very small in that. It's really just a little willingness together with the whole power of the universe and the Holy Spirit. But that's just the way that works. Yeah? And suddenly you're the problem is overcome, the obstacle is gone, right? And that's how this all happens. But if everything is going your way, you won't look for that, right? It's going through these challenging moments, right? And they may be part of your, what we call your pre-birth plan or whatever, right? We're gonna, put some challenging, and hopefully it'll occur to you at that moment in space time, you know, in your amnesia, right? With the veil, you know, being down, you'll remember it, or you'll remember to ask for help, or you remember the mind training, or you remember this, or you remember, but that's what you're going through. And this is beautiful expressed because it says, a little hindrance can seem large indeed to those who do not understand that miracles are all the same. That whatever your problem is, this can easily be corrected by the miracle to the point that you can't even find the problem, right? Because miracles are all the same. There is no such thing as a larger or smaller miracle, right? They're all maximal. Yet teaching that is what this course is for. This is its only purpose. What? That the miracle is always available to you, and that no problem what you're being faced with at any moment, a complete correction of it, is available right here, right now. Uh, for only that is all there is to learn, and you can learn it in many different ways, right? What I'm being confronted with will not be your lesson, right? So the form in which it occurs doesn't matter, because the action of mind will always be the same. All learning is a help or hindrance to the gate of heaven. Nothing in between is possible. That's true, right? And it says nothing is ever lost but time, which in the end is meaningless. That's true, right? Time doesn't really matter because it's not real, right? But you can save yourself a lot of time by, applying for the miracle, asking for the miracle right here, right now, by applying the mind training lessons and asking for that intervention, and save yourself a lot of time, because that's the really um, practical and amazing part of A Course in Miracles, that is designed to save you time, and a lot of time, right? What can take 1,000 years can be done in just an instant with the miracle. Beautiful, right? For it is but a little hindrance to eternity, quite meaningless to the real teacher of the world. And here it is, like this is so, I love this part. Listen to this. It says, to you who still believe you live in time, and know not it is gone. Love that, right? The Holy Spirit still guides you through the infinitely small and senseless maze you still perceive in time, right? The infinite maze of human conception, right? There's no way out. It's an infinite maze, right? You can never get out of it. There's no solution in there. You need to step outside that frame of reference to see that whatever you thought was your problem is not a problem at all, and that there really is a way out, but it's not within space-time. Yeah, it says here, so a sentence infinitely small and sentence makes you still perceive in time, though it has long since gone. I love that. You still, you think you still live in what is past. Each thing you look upon, you saw but for an instant long ago before its own reality gave way to truth. Love it, right? This is over and gone, right? You got to understand that you're here to learn, right? But it's not real. Whatever's happening to you, whatever that situation that you're being faced with, I know it seems real, it feels real. And when you're in the middle of that, it's hard to maybe accept that it isn't real. But what? It isn't real, right? You're still whole and perfect as your Father created you, right? You're still whole and perfect as you were created and have always been that and always will be that. So what you're being subjected to apparently in this own dream is not only being caused by you, but it's a lesson for you to learn because all things are lessons, right? All things are lessons. And the lesson is what? I'm still created whole and perfect, right? I love this. Uncertainty was brought to certainty so long ago that it is hard indeed to hold it to your heart as if it were before you still. So yeah, it's just that realization that, hey, wait, it's not real, right? I remember it's not real. I remember I'm going to accept that I'm whole and perfect as God created me, right? Nothing can change that. And in that, you're changing your mind, you're changing your thinking. And as you change your thoughts, the miracle can occur, right? And you suddenly experience the light and the love of where for a moment you experience an obstacle and a problem and the darkness of your own mind. And suddenly you let it just be sorted out for you. You're stepping back, you gave it over. And all you experience is the light, the love of the resolution of the conflict that you experienced a moment before. And that's a true experience that many of you out there, I'm sure, have had. That the light and the love that you experience at that moment is so far beyond anything that the world can offer, right? It's like, enlightenment always seems like a far-fetched thing. It isn't. It's the most easiest thing in the world because really it's just the giving up of that conflictual um, thinking of that infinite maze of human conception that, you know, you now have found a solution to, but no longer within that frame of space-time, but by stepping outside of it for a moment. So yeah, this is where you make the biggest progress. It's that moment where you're going to go through a tough time, right? And so although you may not see that at that very moment as a blessing, once you get to the other side, it really is. Have a great day. I love you very much. I truly, truly do. Have a great day wherever, whenever you are, and I'll see you everywhere.